Welcome back, everybody. And I'm gonna have to get used to this new recording equipment. It's quite a bit different than my last one. It's very, very tight. Also, I'm still sick. I just emptied my nose and my nasal cavities, so hopefully I will sound normal for the most part. But I guess we'll see. You guys are here for one of the largest hauls I've ever gotten in my entire life. I'm actually really shocked that I got away with all of this stuff. All in all, I spent over $600, I think. But yeah, I spent a lot of money. I made some really bad financial decisions. But really honestly, I added it up, and I think once everything is said and done and I sell the stuff, like if I were to sell everything that I got, it would be like almost $2,000. I'm planning to keep a lot of it, but I'll be able to more than make my money back, which is what I really care about, is being able to get the money I spent originally in like getting all the parts and all of that stuff. So buying all of this stuff is going to help pay for the stuff that I want to keep. So I'll be able to essentially, this is how I build collections. I pay so little for stuff. I try to get multiples, because then I can do what I can to like fix them up, and then I'll sell them, sell the ones I don't need or don't want, and then that helps fund the next thing that I want to buy. So, or there's also the saying of like, take broken shit, make it nice shit, then you got nice shit. It's kind of that same kind of mentality, but yeah, anyway. For the longest time, I've been looking for a proper 35, like a beginner or an amateur, like, 70s, 80s, 35 millimeter camera. I've been specifically looking for a Canon AE1. They're pretty plentiful. They're a very popular camera. Even nowadays, people love them. Beginners to a professional, people love those cameras. But every time I try to find one, they're like absolutely way over what they should be, asking for it. Most of the time, it's for sale by somebody who doesn't know anything about it, hasn't tested it, hasn't even put a battery in it, and it's a lot of the times they're missing the battery door, and they're still asking almost $200 for them. I've seen broken ones that people are trying to sell for $75 or more. It is honestly ridiculous. I was at my favorite flea market of all time, and this flea market is just absolutely amazing. Every time I think that it's dried up or it's gone hipster or anything like that, it surprises me yet again. I was walking around this flea market and something caught my eye, but I saw this guy and I was like, oh my God, that's a Canon AE1. And it's a program. It's got the electronics in it and all of that stuff. That's really cool. And right next to that one was another one. And right next to that one was another one. There's another one. It was another one. Yeah, this is more than I bargained for. I wasn't intending to go out and purchase all of these. But of course I saw them. I just knew I had to have them, and I purchased them all. Some of them were hiding in bags, and you wouldn't believe how much they had these listed for. I think most of these I averaged like $30 per camera, which is pretty good for these. And one of these has a battery in it. It might be this one. Yeah. No hesitation, no wheeze, which is pretty common on these. It works perfect. The light meter works. Everything works. I'm so happy. Like, this is great. So for those of you who don't know a whole lot about the Canon AE1s, AE stands for automatic exposure. This was the successor to the A1. So these came after the A1, and then these came after the regular AE1. So the programs are the newer ones. They have a little bit more electronics in it than these, but they're both still really great cameras. As you can see, this one has like a little additional little grip doodad that goes right here, which is really, really cool. So you can see this program also has a little screw hole for that there. But yeah, I'm super excited about this black one. I think this one is going to be one of the ones I keep, just because it just looks so cool with the all black. But all of these are in really great, really, really good shape. Like, fantastic shape. It's so clean. Look at that. And it's got this really sick lens on it. Oh God, it's so cool. One of the things I'm gonna do for these, the foam seals here are quite a bit worn. And then of course there's like little bumpers for the actual mirror. So I'm gonna replace all of that. We're gonna do like little CLAs. We're gonna clean them up, make sure they're good to go. We're gonna oil them. Let me move some stuff around, and then we'll do the next round. There's so many of these, so many. Then after those, I saw these. This is an OM1, and here is an OM10. The OM1 is older. From what I know, this is the more desirable one to have. I think a lot of people say that this one's better built than the OM10. They do feel like the bodies feel a little bit different in weight. I mean, it could be a lot of this lens doing a lot of that heavy lifting, but like this feels a lot lighter than this body. Like if I set the lens down, this feels heavier than that. This has some sort of identifier scratched into it too, so I don't know what that is, but it's some sort of etching. Like, it's not a phone number or anything like that, but it looks like some sort of identification or something. I don't know, it's really badly put on there. It is missing one little piece right here, so I gotta figure out what that was. But I think I'll be able to get that. I don't think that'll be a problem. So this one has a problem where the mirror is stuck and you can't see through the viewfinder. Apparently that's a pretty common thing. So we just got to take it apart, clean it up, and it should be good to go. And then this one, I think, had a similar thing. Oh yeah, the viewfinder is super dark, which is a very similar issue to this one. There's something with the adjustments and stuff, which is pretty crazy. But everything else seems fine on this one, except for this little missing piece right here. I'm assuming that's for the rewind disable, so you can rewind your film. This one's really dirty. It's going to need a good cleaning, and then this neck strap's pretty gross. I think out of both of these, I think I would keep the OM1. I think it looks pretty cool. I like the compact nature of it too. It's very, very thin compared to the AE1s. So I do like this. I feel like I could throw this in a pocket if I put a little 50 on it or a 35. I feel like this would be a great little pocket camera. So that's pretty cool. I also have a couple of these Pentax. Oh yeah, so far, again, these are all cameras I paid like 35 to 40, I think is the most I paid, but these came in bags with additional lenses and stuff, so I'm not terribly mad about that, but I don't think I walked out of there paying more than $50 for any of these cameras, which is pretty good. But the K1000s seem to be pretty desirable as well. I'm excited to try one of these. This one's got some, like, I don't know if that's like battery corrosion, but it definitely looks like battery corrosion. So this one needs looked at. It's also got some wear right here. So this one's kind of more in rough shape. I don't know what the difference is. I'm not that well versed in the history of these. As you can see, this one says Asahi. I think that's how you pronounce that, Pentax. And then this, I mean, they're definitely the same camera, but you know, maybe this one's older. I would assume this one's probably older, because it definitely looks quite a bit different in its design. I mean, you can see like kind of the minute changes between the two. Like this one's got a red X, this one doesn't. This one has engravings, this one doesn't. The wheels are different. This one sits lower than this one. Both of these seem to work just fine. Shutters seem to work just fine. So I'm not terribly worried about it, but if anybody knows which one's better or which one they prefer, maybe there's differences between the two. I'm definitely gonna do a little bit more research. But I did like the look of them. I thought they looked kind of cool. So definitely gonna look into those a little bit more. And then I did get this Minolta SRT 202. This one's not as expensive as the other ones, but I like Minolta. Minolta's got some pretty good cameras. This one seems to work just fine. There is some there's something on the mirror. I can't tell what it is because it's definitely, it doesn't stay there. It's very strange. It moves. I don't know how to best describe it. I don't know if I can I show that? Oh, yep, you can kind of see it there. I can't tell if that's like the mirror eating itself. I really don't know. But yeah, I need to look into that. I don't think I saw anything on the mirror when I had the lens off, but maybe there's something on like the focus lens or something. I'm not really sure. But and then I got another Minolta, and this one's pretty cool because it came with the box. It's a Minolta Highmatic 11. It's a 35 millimeter. I don't really know anything about it. This one's numbered, let's see, 313,730. It was made and printed in Japan. And, I mean, it looks cool. Like, I like the look of it. They didn't want much for it either. I don't remember how much I paid for it, but as you can see, it's got all the stuff in the box. Got the manual, which is neat. I like when they come with the... Okay, I don't think I can show that. That's got somebody's, like, address on it, so I probably shouldn't show that. But yeah, anyway, pretty cool. I thought it was neat that it came with the box, but it also like came in this like sick little case. Like I don't think I've seen a case quite like this one. But so it comes off, and then you can actually remove the actual like case, so you could just have the scooped part. But unfortunately, this case is starting to deteriorate. As you can see, it's got like this powdery. Like the leather's just wearing away, so I need to look into like if there's anything I can do to prevent that from happening further, or if there's like something I can coat it in, because obviously I can't just walk around with it just being coated and crap, you know what I mean? I'm gonna pull it out of the case so you guys can see what it looks like. Take a look at that. It's got a Vivitar like skylight filter on it, which is kind of cool. But I think this one also, yeah, this one works. Yeah, I can hear it. But yeah, I just like the Super 3 circuit. I think it just looks really cool. This one kind of has a very similar kind of design to the Argus C3, where it's got this like little separate little hidey hole for the focusing, which is kind of neat. But yeah, it's I like this one a lot. It's got a lot of style behind it, and then the fact that it comes with the box. Oh, and it's to scale. Like, what in the world? Look at that. It's literally to scale. When do they do that now? They don't do that at all. Yeah, that gives you a pretty good idea how big it is. Like, literally, it's literally the outline on the box. That's pretty cool. Now, this next one, I think it's the star of the show. This one I don't know a whole lot about, but we're gonna tinker with it a little bit. This one I'm pretty proud of. I saw this there and I was like, this looks like a proper medium format camera, but I'd never heard of Koni-Omega before, or the Rapid M. It definitely needs some work. The focus, as you can see, it's got some wobble to it. Here, I'll zoom in a little bit. Yeah, you can see it's kind of got some wobble to it. It is working though. So I don't know if the rod itself is bent or if it's the knob. This knob feels like it's metal, so I might be able to just heat it up and bang it back out. I don't know. Oh, okay, I see why it's, you can kind of see it's separated here. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, this outer wheel is crooked. So I'll have to see if I can fix that. But it's kind of cool. You can see it actuating the whole thing here. It's very clearly not been used in a very long time. But yeah, you can see it's got this like wear to it. But this is one I would love to restore if I can. I don't know if I'll be able to do it or not, but I would love to be able to do it. I don't know if the shutter's jammed. I really don't know a whole lot about this camera. I really just don't. But it does take different backs, so I do know that. And the shutter advance does work. So if I take it, yep. Okay, so we're at the load film here. Okay. So past this, so you lift this up, turn it to O, and then this comes out. I'm showing my, I don't really know a whole lot about these, to be quite honest. I just know that I've wanted something a little bit more nicer for 120, and this is definitely going to fit that bill. So, all right, so we have, this is our shutter here. So 500 to bulb. And then here's our f-stops, 3.5 to 32, which is pretty crazy. Whoa! That was like really movable, and then suddenly it wasn't. And it's got these other little doodads in here. I don't know what that really does. There's like a whole little hidden space right here that I don't really know what that does. It's like a whole centimeter deep. There's an X and an M. So I don't know what the settings for that are. So that's a little strange. I'm gonna hope that it's working. I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna have to watch a bunch of videos to see if I can figure out how this works. Ooh. Ooh. That did something. Hey, it's working now. Or was working for 5 seconds. Ow! Ah! Ow! Why? Why would you do that to me? Literally, it just went and crushed my finger. Okay. I think we got it now. Hey, it works. All right, so if I switch this to 500. All right, press the... Nice! Hey! I saw varying prices on these online. I honestly don't know how much money they go for. I've seen anywhere from $50 to, you know, for a really, really nice one, quite a bit of money. This one did come with the manual, so I'm excited to kind of read through that, learn a little bit more about it. This one's probably going to need the most amount of work out of all of them. As you can see, like, this is not going to fly. It's rubbing somewhere. I don't know where it's rubbing exactly, but this one's definitely going to need some work. But this one's the one I'm most excited about because it's like just so cool. It's so cool, and I can get different backs for it. So this is like the professional version of this. This is easier to operate than this. This I just point and shoot it. This has a little bit more thought behind it. Like, I would have to get like a light meter and stuff, and then yeah, like I said, this is just gonna need a complete rebuild. I'll have to see if I can even get light seals for it. I guess that's the other big question, is can I get light seals for it? But I guess we will see. But anyway, guys, I'd like to thank you all for watching and hanging around until I came back. I'm excited to get going on all these cameras. We're just gonna kind of go through these one at a time, and hopefully if you run into one of these, one of my videos will help you. But you know, if not, just kind of stick around, watch me make mistakes, and just kind of wing it. You know, they say the best way to learn how to do stuff is just kind of get so deep that you have to figure it out. So that's about where we're at right now, because I could technically sell this camera in this condition, but I just want to, you know, make sure I go through them all and make sure that they're all good to go. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.